Yeah, go ahead.
Can you move into your hood here?
What's that?
Can you move into your hood? Can you move into your neighborhood?
Yeah, exactly. Let me,
Give you a little more. I think that'd be great. Yeah. Stay at the end, Margie.
yeah. I just want to be the head of the table.
That's right. Ready to make a speech, a toast.
Toast.
Would you make a toast to Margie?
That's how it is.
Gorgeous.
If you're ready, I'll go ahead and start.
Whenever you're ready.
I'm ready. Okay, I will call to order the New Shore Planning Board meeting for Wednesday, July 10th at 4 p.m. I'm Margie Cummings, Chair of the Planning Board. If you'll introduce yourself, we'll go down.
Okay, Saoirse Cullen.
Claire Cummings.
William Rose.
Mary Anderson.
Good, thank you. And with us today is Amanda and Allison, and Amanda will be taking minutes. Jen is not available today. And Allison, of course, is our town planner. Okay, number one, Garden Lot LLC, Plat 7, Lot 33, fire number 160, Spring Street, public hearing for United Development Review Board application by the Draper family for a special use permit under 407 hotels for a new restaurant. Good evening.
Seth Draper, yeah.
Okay. We had quite a discussion last time. We have some work that has been done by Allison as far as drawing up a potential application for us. And she has put together a motion for us to use for the farm stand, not for the restaurant, which I think you guys already knew. I could go over that with you and then we could modify it. Or if you have any questions, either the board or Seth, before we start. All right, so let me go through this and then we can, if you have questions. This has been looked at by both Allison and Karen Browning, who is our land use attorney. And it is is application for Unified Development Review for a special use permit for a new restaurant. And I make a motion that based on this, number one, based on the totality of record and findings therein, I move to approve the application. Subject to the following. One, the use requested by the applicant as a parcel has changed from restaurant to farm stand. Two, the farm stand shall be governed by and remain in conformance with Rhode Island General Law 23-1 through 7, Rhode Island right to farm. Three, the farm stand use the parcel shall, one, only exist on the same parcel as the farm. Two, only sell products that derive their primary ingredient from a farm located on the same parcel. Four, the farm stand is prohibited from the following: indoor eating, tableside service, frying of any kind, servicing the general public for more than an hour after sunset. Five, the applicant shall work with abutting property owners as requested to provide landscape screening of abutting properties. Such landscape screening shall be installed and maintained at the applicant's expense. The farm stand shall use is limited to a maximum of 800 square feet. And number 8, the last one, this approval and any relief granted is contingent upon the recording of the associated administrative subdivision. Now, we can modify this, we can change it and so forth. So I have a motion, so yes, I do need a second.
Second.
Okay, any questions before we talk about what we'd like to change or modify? I have a couple of additions that I'd like to add. Going to number 2, I would like the product, have it to read, only sell products that derive their primary ingredients from a farm located on the same parcel or that which are grown in New Shoreham. So I have seen where several farms get together and share our produce. And you might want the option of doing that down the road. Say you're short of beets and somebody else has loads, you might want to have the right to sell them. So I'd like to add that in. And at the request of some of the neighbors, I'd like to have somewhere put in dark sky compliant and no lights after the farm stand closes. So those are the two additions I'd like to put in. Okay, anything from the board? Sosha,
No, I'm very comfortable.
comfortable with
this.
that? Okay.
Mhm.
Claire?
I agree.
Okay. Chris?
Fine.
Okay. Bill?
Yeah.
Okay. Mary?
I agree.
Okay. Any kind of questions or comments from the audience? All right, all those in favor say aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries. Good luck on your new venture.
All right, thank you very much. Is there a time throughout this meeting that I could make a recommendation to the planning board as a taxpayer and a community member?
We don't have a comment period, as you probably noticed from our agendas.
Okay,
So probably the best way to do this, if it's connected with the farm stand, would be to do it right now. If it is not, then send a letter to Jen. And then it will be forwarded to me and we can decide if it would be appropriate for the August board meeting.
Okay.
Because we can't discuss things that are not on the agenda. You can't just come and talk.
sure. I guess, so I will follow through as far as submitting a letter or stating.
Memo, whatever you want to call it.
The only reason it would possibly pertain to this is because of, the zoning ordinance and not allowing retail throughout our district. And I think I'm well aware of all the changes that the state is making and that you guys have a lot on your table to discuss. And I think this is a great opportunity for you, the planning board, to start amending or changing the verbiage, which would allow for more opportunity within our district for retail and also other types of commercial activity that pertains to either ecotourism or agrotourism. And a lot of that does pertain to the farm stand because, as you know, a short season, it's very difficult to produce all that we need to produce and create products. And we can't make all the products and things that we want to sell and grow everything within 2 months. So we need to offset that with some sort of flexibility within the retail.
Yeah, that would be a zoning change. So in fact, Jen and I have already talked about that, the off chance that you might bring it up.
Right.
So that would be fine. Send a memo to Jen, and I think that's something that could go on to the August
Okay.
agenda.
Because I think it's also very apparent when you take a ride around throughout our different districts. Because a lot of this application was first applied for as a restaurant to give us more flexibility with the food or different items that possibly would be more of a retail. Now, we reduced it from the restaurant to the farm stand with hopes to still have some flexibility in the retail kind of department. I know that's not allowed in the district, yet throughout the district, the RCM district, many, if not all of the properties are engaged in some sort of retail. Now, even when you go beyond that, whether it's the Catholic Church, Southeast Lighthouse, Scotch Beach Food Truck, just to name a few, all the way out to Champlin's and other zones that are also engaged in retail, it's very difficult to know that we're being kind of restricted.
Yeah, you're in a mixed use zone and zoning, a lot of it was done in 1989. So yes, I think this would be something to have the planning board look at and then make a recommendation to the town council. Because the town council actually does the change. We just make recommendations.
Okay,
Okay, so start with a memo to Jen. That would be the step one.
thank you.
Good, thank you very much. And thanks for your patience. This has been several months in the making. Okay. Number 2, Blue House Herring Holdings LLC, care of Eric and Jennifer Conley, flat 17, lot 31, Beach Avenue, fire number 588 Beach Avenue. Public hearing on an application for development plan review, application for Rob Sanders Architects for a special use permit under sections 307E, 406, and 703 for construction of an addition to an existing single-family dwelling, and we will do an advisory to the zoning board.
Hello,
Hello.
thank you for having us back. Hope everyone's doing well. So since our last meeting on June 12th, we discussed
I'm
the
sorry.
overages
Could
on
you just say your name? for the
some
record?
square footage as well as the encroachment on the wetlands. And per our updated design and drawings, which you all have received, please let me know if you do not have them in front of you.
Margie,
We have
can you hear me?
pulled back the building to adhere to the existing wetland setback of the existing garage cottage. So our building addition, or our total building square footage has been reduced. So our building footprint went from 2,502 to 2,288, a delta of 214 square feet. Our living area, which is now conforming, went from 4,722 square feet to 3,970, a delta of 752 square feet. The gross floor area from 7,595 square feet to 6,892 square feet, delta of 703 square feet, and our building volume from 59,221 square feet to 54,013, delta of 5,208 square feet. Or cubic, that's right. Our previous encroachment was from the closest point of the addition to the wetlands. The delineated wetlands was 44 feet 6 inches, in which we have gotten it down to 36 feet 3 inches, with difference of 8 feet 3 inches, which is a 16.5% change. All that is to say that I think, given your comments based on the last meeting and again, the engineering of the site with pertaining to the environmental impacts, the square footage, we believe that these changes are now closer in conformance to the special use permit and all within the range of the reviewed allowed square footage. A lot of our engineering has remained the same in terms of bedroom count and, upgrading our septic system to get to a more conforming system to today's standards, as well as our other mitigation tactics that, we've talked extensively about. So I think that's the gist. I can walk through any specific changes we've made to the footprint and design of the building. But I think I'd like to open it up unless anyone has any comments. Oh, sorry. Sorry about that. You guys don't know me by now? My name is Andrew Almeida with Rob Sanders Architects.
Thank you. A couple of questions for you.
Sure.
I know that you pulled the house section back, so it's 44.8 or something like that feet.
Yep.
And so it's definitely still non-conforming, but a lot less non-conforming. But I want to make sure everything else, that as far as plantings go, septic system, all that is still the same. You have not checked and changed anything.
That is correct. And that can all be seen on the site development plan produced by Atlas Land Surveying.
For the record.
Yes, for the record, all of the site specific things have not changed in
Okay.
terms of planting, septic and everything of that
Yeah,
nature.
Plantings, your septic system,
Dry wells.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
all that stuff that you need to have. And the other thing is, I want to make sure that we mention that we would like your lighting to be night sky compliant, which is a regulation here on Block
Sure.
Island, but we're also very proud of our night skies and want to have everybody buy into that and help maintain it. So
Sure.
you had not mentioned fixtures that you were using several months ago, and I didn't see them when I listened to it on Zoom last week. Just want to make sure that's in there.
Yes, we will be compliant in all regulations regarding fixtures and everything else.
Thank you. Questions, Gail?
I don't have any questions.
Comments?
I have a comment. I still find it very hard to give a favorable advisory given the wetland And also given the amount of applications that I've seen in the years that I've been on the board, that we really ask the applicant to adhere to that 2,000 square feet, and we're still well above it. And we're well above two other aspects, building volume and gross area. So I think due to the wetland, that's my only reluctance, and the size of lot. And we've had applicants come forward on 2 acres, no wetlands, and ask them to adhere to the 2,000 square foot rule. So I don't know how, or the special use. So I'm not sure how, if this is setting a precedent, that would then diminish what the value of the 2,000 square foot is all about. So I wasn't on the board when they created that, so I don't know what the discussion was in the
Mhm.
totality, but if it weren't for the wetland and the size of the lot, it would be, for lack of better words, a no-brainer. I am reluctant. Without DEM even laying their eyes on this, even if they did, those are my thoughts.
Well, to be clear also, I should have mentioned this earlier, I apologize, but we have submitted our DM wetland application. It is currently under review. We're not sure how long that review process is. I'm sure maybe you guys have better understanding of what that process is like. But we have submitted that application, and it is something that, of course, regardless of the determination here today or on a local municipality level, that we would need to go forward with a building permit regardless. So I just wanted to put that on record as well.
Can I ask a question? Status of the OWTS, has that been applied for through DEM?
Yeah, yes, I believe that's what has been submitted by Atlas Land Surveying with the site development plans, the 2 plans in front of you, including the OWTS system to the north of the house.
Okay, my comments are a little bit random.
Okay.
Given that it's a non-conforming lot and that there are 2 structures being connected, I feel that this application is different from the ones we disapproved. Yeah, the ones we disapproved of previously. We are essentially connecting 2 structures. Secondly, I find this latest proposal a good faith proposal because we closed our last meeting agreeing that if you came up with a proposal where no part of the total structure is closer than the existing garage, that we would be very open to that. With the understanding, sort of implied understanding, that that would also diminish the size of the footprint and all of that, and you accomplished that. I do have one question. In the previous handout, the building volume was listed as 50,221 cubic feet. And the existing one has increased almost by 4,000. Why is that?
That's our apologies. That was a typo on the last one. It meant to say 59,221 feet, and we're currently at 54,013 cubic feet, a difference of 5,208.
Okay, I didn't know that.
That's our apologies. I think sometimes when we're calculating that, it's kind of hard, especially when in terms of taking from finished grade, and there's a lot of dormers and other
It's okay.
different volumes attached to the building. So
Okay, that's all I have.
Yep.
Claire?
Yeah, I tend to agree with Sosha. I'd just like to say I really appreciate what you guys have done to bring it down to that, whatever it is, 43 foot distance from the wetland. I do understand they have a difficult lot. And I appreciate the work that you've done to get it to the point that we're at right now. I am feeling like I'd like to see the DEM determination before moving forward. I don't want them to see I don't want our approval to sway or disapproval to sway the direction that they go. And I'm not sure if it works that way at all, but I wouldn't want to have any kind of influence on that. I want their opinion of the site and the building before we would make our determination. That's my only concern at this point, is that we don't have something from them in hand.
Chris?
Well, they did what we asked for at the last meeting, so I don't have any other questions.
Okay.
I don't really have any questions, but I'm a little kind of with the DEM approval, it's kind of, I feel as though it's gonna be kicked back and forth. I think DEM's kind of waiting for us to kind of say what we think about it, and we're waiting for them, so I mean, I don't know. I think we should maybe make a decision, but wait for DEM, we're gonna wait for DEM.
And this is going to zoning, right? So it's advisory, so that could be in your recommendation.
but on that
And you might have a you might
Yeah,
receive something.
Yeah.
On the application.
We can put that in as one of the points that we starting with in our advisory.
Yeah.
I don't think the DEM is gonna care what we say.
Tell you the truth, I tend to agree with you.
No,
I don't know. I talked to a board member about that, and not a board member, another person who's familiar with working with GM, and they do take it into consideration.
yeah, they do, because it's on the application.
They think if we think it's okay, they can, I mean,
They
I
wanna-
can't say with certainty that it's gonna sway them either way, but they do take it into consideration.
They kind of want to get an idea if we're gonna approve the, you know, if it's kind of going the direction that we're going.
But, you know,
Or whatever.
And I just think I think they're the experts. I mean, they're the ones who are gonna know how, if it's disruptive or not. I certainly can't make that call.
Yeah. Okay, and
We are okay with the conditional approval with the DM's approval. That's kind of something that we were expecting, so.
all right, I'll just leave it at that then, wait for DEM.
Mary?
I don't know.
Are you done?
What's that?
Were you done speaking?
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
done.
okay. Wasn't sure. I agree with what everybody said for me. Particularly, I was concerned, as Gail was, about the volume, in particular, that gross area.
Mhm.
And I also agree with Sosha in terms of doing what we asked you to do, to scale down the size of it. And of course, DEM is an issue as well for me. And I agree also with Sosha in regard to the fact that this is different from some other applicants that we've had, and that you're trying to expand the use of an existing historic house, which I appreciate. And again, my only remaining concern I want to underline is the still, even though you've done what we asked you to do, it's still very close to those setbacks. So I too feel like I'd like to hear from DEM. They're the experts, and I'm happy to go forward as long as that's a condition that we hear from DEM in regard to that setback and how close you still are.
Sure.
And that's all.
How much of the house can you see from the main road?
Primarily the main facade and given,
Of the addition that you're going to be putting on.
of the addition, it's
See for that, what do you see for that for the main?
it's very little. If I could point to the
Yeah. we could.
the 3D renderings, I think the view that best gives from the street, if I may. So given the grade and that the road is at a lower level,
Yeah, I could not, and I didn't have a way of checking, couldn't tell which one, which.
Which was
exactly,
west.
Right, and then that would be, and that's what would be seen from the road. Okay, because I couldn't tell which rendering was from the road. Okay, so the addition mostly shows from the back where,
from the rear.
yeah, from the rear, okay. And I know you have a non-conforming lot, which makes it a bit, actually makes it very difficult to meet all the setbacks. So what is the wish of the board? My theory or my suggestion is that we approve this with condition that it be approved by DEM. Does that seem, well, I'll make a motion, then you can vote for it or against it and see how you feel. I'll make a motion that we give a favorable advisory to the zoning board with one or more conditions stating that the approval of DEM is necessary in order for the planning board to approve this changes, which we make sure that we understand, we do approve that you have tried to meet the setbacks, but it is a non-conforming lot.
And you want to include the lighting and the.
And then, yeah, we'll put some conditions on it. Make sure that you put the dark sky compliant lights, that all the plantings, the septic system, and any other changes are exactly as shown on the original plans. Anybody else got conditions they want to add? Allison? Anything else? Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any further questions or comments?
Just clarifying that condition, are you saying the zoning board, you're making a recommendation to the zoning board?
We make a recommendation zoning board
Waits to
for a
approve
favorable
it.
advisory, providing DEM gives approval.
Okay.
Without that, obviously, we would not be giving a favorable advisory. And then I did the couple of, that's the first condition. Second one is the dark sky compliant. And third is that all of the plantings, septic system, et cetera, are exactly the same on the second rendering as it was on the first. Okay, and I have a second. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Aye. Okay, one opposed, motion carries. Thank you very
All right,
much.
thank you.
Yes. Thank you for coming in for this.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, guys. I appreciate all the work that you went into it.
You hadn't met him, so.
All right. Well, best of luck.
See, they're not- That's what I mean, is, from what I understand, it's even an application that DM is looking for us to say whether we think it's okay. What they say it's okay.
Coming in for the two.
See, is-
Sosha has Lyme disease and, but she wanted to be here for the two hearings. So thank you very much. Appreciate it. Go home and rest up. I hope you feel better. Not a nice thing.
I'm just afraid that DM's gonna kick it back to us.
All right, number 3, rides. Discuss and act on a request to provide the town council with findings and a recommendation for an amendment to a zoning ordinance. Article 1, Section 111, general prohibitions. Article 2, Section 202, definitions, amusement rides. Make a recommendation to the town council to include a finding of consistency with the comprehensive plan. So I actually had a chance to talk with Allison today about this because I wanted to make sure that I understood what we're doing is seeing how this is consistent with the comprehensive plan. And the first thing we talked about was health and safety. So I'd like to mention that as one thing that we look at and would be consistent with that comprehensive plan. Other thoughts? Sure.
My question is this just a definition that we're creating, or is it also whether they're allowed anywhere or not? Is it, or is this just a definition?
It's listed as a general prohibition under.
So it is in the general, it is prohibition
Well,
aspect of it?
yes,
Yes.
it wouldn't be allowed in any zoning districts. It's
Would you like to, I came because I didn't want to abandon you.
Okay. I do not feel abandoned, but by all means, Keith, come to the microphone.
So
We would be happy to.
if you recall in the years-long march on this issue, The fundamental question was,
Microphone on.
yes, it is. Keith Stover, Beacon Hill Road. This has been since I was on zoning, however many years ago that was. It was a challenge because there were not firm definitions of what constituted a ride and what constituted a game. And this language was drafted after the court case by James Callahan, one of the town solicitors, to make the ordinance clearer.
So what happens with the ruling that's in play? I mean, does it?
It's over. This is only prospective. It's over. Yes. Yeah.
The application?
Yeah. No, this is not a retrospective.
Okay.
Okay. Well, as I started with the health and safety, this certainly is one of the things that we look at for our activities. Another one would be noise pollution. And then Allison, you came up with one that you want to explain.
So I think this is really just bringing clarity. The language is, it's not really a change in policy. It's really just clarifying language and adding a definition. So the zoning ordinance is, you know, easier to interpret moving forward. So I don't know if it's necessarily, but what Margie's speaking to is when making a recommendation in regards to a zoning amendment to the town council, what we typically include is like a finding of consistency with the comprehensive plan. So, you know, the chair's looking for, you know, when you're making this advisory, how are you determining that this zoning language is consistent with your comprehensive plan? So just if you're not wanting this use, well, that's why there's the overarching like health and safety that's in the comprehensive plan. Margie's brought up noise, but other language, you know, in regard to, you know, focusing on nature-based like recreational opportunities and things like that, rather than this type of use. But it's, the planning board doesn't necessarily need to list out all specific language in the comprehensive plan. Sometimes we keep it general, but just to help in determining, you know, to help you in making a rationale in regard to this language going into the into your zoning ordinance.
Okay. Anybody else have anything you want to add to that?
Seems pretty straightforward.
Anybody from the audience? So does this give you enough, Allison, to kind of create a paragraph that would explain why we feel this is not, why this decision is, I get it right, why this decision is consistent with the comprehensive plan?
Yeah, I think it's not inconsistent with the comprehensive plan. Not, you know, I think it's, again, just more of a clarification, like language. It's not, you're not changing the policy of the town. You're just adding a definition. So you're not making something prohibited that was already allowed. So I don't know if you necessarily need to include a lot in regard to the rationale as to why it's prohibited.
Okay.
But I'll, you know, certainly include if you want to give a favorable recommendation and that it's makes the ordinance, you know,
Okay.
internally consistent and that it's consistent with the comprehensive plan. And I can outline those things you mentioned, noise and health and safety. Yeah, I can try to look through the comp plan for a little bit of language there to include.
Okay, I will then also move and I will need a second.
Second.
Okay, Mary seconds. Any further comments? Any suggestions that you want to make sure that Allison includes?
So this was already a prohibition,
Yes, it's already prohibited.
but we're just defining it.
We're just defining it and approving it in compare in
After 6 years.
Because if you see in the language here, it says, you know, again, I haven't been involved in
Yeah.
much in this, but and I wasn't involved in drafting this, but amusement parks or rides is what the language says under general prohibitions, but that was stricken or rides, and now it says amusement rides. And it's and now there's a specific definition of amusement ride where there hadn't been before.
Yeah.
So,
Can I ask a question? Are amusement parks defined?
I don't believe so.
Commercial rifle ranges, field houses, are any of those defined? My point is, why don't we define them so we don't.
Well, we
find
could
this-
include that in the recommendation to the town council.
Thanks.
To add the
Yep. Okay, good. Anything else? Mary, Phil? Claire? Okay. And then, I call for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay. Number 4, tents and storage containers. Discuss and act on a request from the town council to consider an ordinance regulating tents and storage containers and other auxiliary uses and zones on the island. All right, this will start with a discussion of, I've heard a lot of comments about the tents downtown. They have not been favorable. I think that we all agree that probably something needs to be done, but I see some shall we say, conflicts. Starting with, we need to make sure that we define what are tents and what are, we do have a definition for containers, but we do not have a definition for tents. And I want to make sure that we talk about how to regulate downtown without touching the wedding tents. Tents that might go up at the beach to cover, provide shade for like a 3-month-old baby, or touch on the type of tents that are used in the farmers markets, which is twice a week. So we have to be very careful on how we go about crafting all of this. So I want to make sure that when we're talking about this, that we keep in mind that we need to talk about what zones it's going to be allowed in and how we can protect the things we want to keep, and list the things that we would prefer be changed. So having kind of made an opening statement on that, other comments and questions? Keith, go right ahead.
I think you can see that the town council did the really brave thing and said, we know something probably needs to be done, so we'll punt it to planning to figure out what we're supposed to do. But
Was the one that said the buck stops here?
yeah, right. Mark, you pointed out one particular immediate instance, but look, there are these tents that remind me of sort of like the youth sports type tents that you see all the time. There's a whole range of kind of tents, and it came to our attention as we were looking at the circumstance that you described, Margie, that we don't have an ordinance on tents. We have an ordinance on, like, you can't camp at your house. But what is our policy around putting up a retail tent on Memorial Day and leaving it there until Columbus Day? Should you have a process for a tent permit? I'm not really quite sure what it looks like, except that I know what some things look like, and I don't think that's what we want. Do you in the Old Harbor District have consistency with color? Do you require the use of, they can't be smaller than or larger than? Do you require someone to come to the council or to planning and say, look, we're having a our retail establishment is having a sale on 4th of July weekend and we want to put a couple of tents on the front yard. You know, like I don't know what that ends up looking like. None of those are would you please include this? It's just clearly this is, one of the things I think we've tried to do is identify these kind of gaps. And this is clearly a gap in the ordinance because we don't really have anything on it.
Thank you. I had basically thought we'd talk about what we want to include and what we want to make sure is not included, and then ask Allison to draft something over the next month and then put it on the agenda again in August to see whether or not we've said what we really wanted to say, and then have a chance to kind of edit it. I take it, Keith, it's if we get it to you, in the fall, I mean, you don't want it tomorrow. Not an urge. I mean, we already have tents up, they've already been given citations, I believe.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, obviously a topic of discussion, but we don't really have any sort of ordinance-based response.
So Allison, have you done any research yet with other municipalities?
Not on this issue. That's
Specific-
probably where I would start looking.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's not really a zoning more, it's more in the code, different in the
Oh.
code, somewhere else. So
I'm
I'll
sure,
look at other examples. I was just pulling up Nantucket. I
I'm
mean,
sure HDCs and other towns have an opinion on it.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, I'm sure it's come up before. So we'll do that research. Just wanted to, for today's meeting, kind of understand more of what the issue is and what you're trying to regulate and what direction you have.
So-
Or
I don't want to, if we're gonna go down the path of whether it's regulation, prohibition, licensing, whatever, like, I don't think it's productive, at least not to explore the alternatives. And I say that, let's just face it, shade is a commodity, like,
Yeah.
everybody wants it,
Mhm.
everybody like, and that's, shade and keeping things out of the weather,
Yeah.
whether, doesn't
Right.
matter where you are.
products getting wet, yeah.
So, and I think the concern, particularly in the downtown area, is the concern is the unsightliness, which has been going, everything that's happening on, we'll take Weldon's Way, which probably has the more tents per square foot than any place else on the island, like, people just don't like the way they look. All right, so what's the alternative? Do you want something that looks better? And if you say, because there's plenty of things out there that look better.
But
is
how
that
do you
gonna be-
dictate that?
What's that?
How do you dictate that?
Exactly. And because thinking
'Cause what
about
is
this, seeing this on the agenda, I was like, there's so many like variations, I recycled sales one year.
Yeah,
to
that's
shade.
another thing we should be put on here to make sure that we define.
Is that considered a tent or is that considered shading?
Exactly.
Is a rollout awning?
Right. Yeah. I got
What,
it.
so I guess what I'm getting at is I understand that there's a necessity to start looking at how do we address the number, like, but I want to do it in a logical way and with the understanding that you can't just say, let's just get rid of them and because you never know what you're gonna end up with. And I would prefer, when we look at it from a planning perspective, if something of a more, so these are temporary, right? They all come down in October. Most of them. All right, can we offer, is there a more permanent solution? But is it gonna count towards lot coverage? Or is that a compromise? Look, put something up that's shade or shelter, whatever you want to call it. I don't know how to define it yet. Tent. And, but it's not, because I'll be honest, I would rather see a fixed gazebo type lean-to than a tent.
But be
Personally.
careful what you wish for.
Right. But that's just what I'm saying, but I don't want to say no tent and not have, because again, they, It's hot.
I think I would be more, responsive to tent shade or, for example, in some spots over the New Harbor, what I see currently on Water Street in Wellens West, which those tents are not for shade.
So that could be a definition, like part of the defining.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
And maybe that's where it starts and in my opinion
Yeah.
ends, because I can't see regulating tents. Because I think shade is an important factor and I think everyone deserves to have it and we certainly wouldn't, I think it would be a stretch for us to try to regulate it in any residential zones or you want your kids to play outside, you put up a tent, one of those just top only, no sides, not a sleeping tent. The beaches everywhere. I think if everyone thinks downtown is the issue at hand, we need to take a closer look at what is the issue and try to define it.
And with any type of like regulation, my concern always is, all right, you got the regulation, we do this all the time. Where's the enforcement?
Right.
And how's it gonna be enforced? Who's gonna enforce?
It would be nice to have the option.
Yeah, we might want to define violations and penalties clearly. And you can, describe, I mean, it's easier to throw the word out tent, right? Say your vision of a tent looks different than mine, but you can talk about materials, size,
Yeah, it would be.
how it's structured,
Yeah.
how it's set up, what it's set up with. Is it a tent that can withstand a Cat 2 hurricane? Is it a tent that is
Mhm.
just there for the day? We can define time, length of time.
But if you allow people to spill out onto the lawn and paved areas of their businesses to have their business goods, why can't they be tented? And how do you?
Right, well, there's definitions there that already exist that's not allowed to do that.
I mean,
There
I-
are setbacks from the road.
Nobody ever did anything outside of the walls of their store or restaurant, whatever it is. And all of a sudden, we had one or two people do it. And actually, the Old Harbor Task Force did send to town council a regulations permitting like a table outside your store or restaurant, but not allowing anything else, and town council turned it down. This was a number of years ago.
But I think it still exists.
Yeah, it is.
In the building department, that you have a length of allowable usage from the front of your building, onto the sidewalk. And so I think
It is prohibited on the side.
it is
It is
prohibited, yeah.
I do remember checking that.
Yeah, and I think,
Because anything that blocks the sidewalk is considered
Yeah.
a public safety hazard.
I don't think that's complete block of the sidewalk. You do have some use of the sidewalk,
It
but not
depends on the
complete.
side, whether it's private sidewalk or public.
It's
If-
the length of the sidewalk
It
that you're
has to
allowed.
do with
Mhm.
so many feet.
Exactly.
And now it's more technical. I
Yeah.
want to say it's 3 feet, but I'm not going to.
I don't think it's that much,
I'm
yeah.
not Sure but there is a regulation that prohibits blocking the sidewalks.
Yeah, that's
Or
right.
blocking entrances to the stores.
That's right.
But when you're identifying like an existing brick and mortar place, putting up a pop-up tent for retail, you could dictate that it comes down each night.
Yes,
Mhm.
certainly could.
And
And
storage
also dictate the size and the color.
and the length of
whether it's
time.
Compatible. Because I'm also thinking when somebody gets off a ferry and looks up and down the street, we have a lovely, charming buildings, Victorian. What we don't want everybody to see is 2010s and not see the Victorian buildings and the charm of the downtown community. We've worked very hard over the last couple of years getting parks that looked charming, and everybody's rehabbed their buildings over years. And so what I don't want to have happen is have people get off the ferry and see nothing but tents. That's not a good first impression. So,
Well, you
if
also,
we keep that in mind,
I
as we
think
work out this problem.
the majority of them up until last year weren't visible from the ferry. If you think about it, look at, this is a temporary issue, what's happening on the Harborside property is isn't a permanent solution to, like, that's not permanent, right? I mean, so there could have been a better process, but we don't have that, like, the town didn't have something in place so that there was a process for somebody who has 3 or 4 retail places, 26 rooms, blah, 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 how do all those people exist on it in a seasonal town until the place is replaced, basically?
Yeah.
Okay, and, I mean, hindsight's 20/20, so we have the extreme case, I would call it, of what just happened last year, and what exists now, and again, when we move forward with this, there has to be a reasonable solution for the people that are just, you know, that are affected by it on a temporary basis. This isn't a long, like, you're not gonna put a container downtown in perpetuity and work at it.
And that's already
That's already.
not allowed, correct?
That's already been
Yeah.
allowed.
Right.
We did, that was done while I was on the board, so I would say it was probably 10, 15 years ago. We defined, so that you could have livestock, you could have if for a contractor to use the store goods, as long as it was locked, it was labeled, it did not have living facilities such as water or kitchen, whatever. So yes, that's already been done.
So I would like to see what other municipalities obviously do,
Yeah, well, why we don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Mhm.
We can
No,
see what others have done.
but, you know, we're not
Then-
reinventing the wheel, but there's also, you know, we don't have a 60-unit storage facility where business owners can, like, you know, like, so we got,
Yeah.
I'm saying, I wanna see what other towns do, but also bear in mind our circumstances
Yeah,
here.
then we need to borrow ideas that will work for us.
Yeah,
And I also think that I would love to see a section that will allow certain things in certain zones, so it's very specific. And probably a section that says this does not apply to, and list some of my concerns of what it does. And I do not want to try to regulate, for example, the farmer's market. I don't want to try to tell somebody what size tent they're going to do, or whether it has size or not, or I'm not even sure we want to regulate color, but we do need to do some of those things in the public spaces downtown. And I'm not sure we want to talk about trying to change the farmer's market or a wedding tent venue. So I'd like a section that says this does not apply to.
Yeah, there'll be a
certain
list
areas.
of exemptions.
Okay,
Any
that's
tents for
good.
recreational
Thank you.
purposes or private, personal use on private property.
Commercial.
or
Right.
Special event permits like with
And
a
as long as it's
wedding.
temporary, such as a wedding, exactly.
exempts That
Wedding
you're
venue.
targeting, what I'm hearing is you're looking for some type of either restrictions or regulations around retail, like portable structures, tents, pop-up tents within like basically the historic district focus mainly, or do you just have it be global, but have it also you're not saying to not allow them, but
That's one of the things we need to talk about. Do we want to not allow them totally?
I need to
Historic
drive
district.
around and see, I have not even noticed any,
so
frankly, so I need to do a
before you
spin around.
prohibit, you have to, like, again, part of planning is if you, like,
Yeah.
before you prohibit, what's an alternative?
Mhm.
Okay, and I think some of the business owners can be asked. I mean, I
Yeah.
can think of I could think of a bunch of alternatives that might be agreeable, but might not work. I don't know, like.
I've noticed people screaming at me to rent a moped when I get off the boat much more than I notice a tent out front on Main Street somewhere. I mean,
Okay,
I'm not even kidding. So I'd love to take a spin around and see what's out there and see what. I think the biggest area that we're probably talking about, not directly about, is temporary. But
For
our.
sure.
And I think
But
COVID
you have
probably
to
bumped
define
that.
temporary,
Yeah.
and again, I understand I get the concern that I will call it an anomaly has brought to the table with both storage containers and tents. I get it.
Mm.
So. And it is an anomaly. That doesn't happen every year, thank God.
Thank God.
Right.
So, and I think it's a good opportunity as, let's just take that particular property as the applicant moves forward with the building process. Ask him to float some ideas of what would, I mean, I put what's that thing, a lean-to on Nick's instead of a tent, because I didn't like the look of the tent.
Mm.
Mhm.
Is that agreeable? I don't know.
Mhm.
It is to me, what's the HTC?
Mhm.
And that's one of the things we may say, it has to go through and be approved by HDC.
And I think HTCs from other towns is another good place to pull. I'm
Mhm.
sure Nantucket's got a whole book on it.
They do.
Yeah.
I look.
Yeah, pergolas are oftentimes used as a way of providing shade, which is another thought.
Or if the building, or even like a rollout awning. Like, I don't know why more people don't use that option. I don't
Yeah,
know.
that's
It's not,
another- yeah.
it's not prohibited
Yeah.
and it's easy.
Mhm. And we have to make sure that it remains not prohibited,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, I agree, especially as planet gets hotter.
Yeah,
Mhm.
but it has to be, since it'd be attached to the building, we have to be sure it's acceptable to HDC
Right.
because they have jurisdiction over that.
Mhm.
So, yeah, so yeah, we got a lot of moving parts here. So Allison, do you have enough thoughts to work
Yeah,
for
sure.
next month?
Yep.
Because I see this is taking several months. I don't think it's going to happen, because I think we're gonna do a lot of tweaking.
Mhm.
And we want to get it right, and that getting it right is more important than getting it done rapidly, in my opinion.
Mhm.
Okay, anything else for Allison before we move on? Keith, anything else you want us to?
No. thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you for coming and talking. Yeah, appreciate that. All right. All right, next thing is establishing a technical review committee. We have a note from Jen.
Thank you.
Bye now, thank you.
Thank you.
Jen's suggestions to have a technical review committee, which is appointed by the planning board. The regulations require that the administrative zoning officer be the chair, so that would be Jen. And we must have at least one planning board member, and I would recommend probably two, but check it out with that. We looked back at this is a good catch that Allison did. We cannot list the town planner for a member because she's not on the original list that was approved. She would be asked to come as a consultant. Jen would like the fire chief or his designated person, because we have a great deal of trouble with site, particularly entrances, roadways, turnarounds, and so forth. And then the last of the five would be Mike Shea, Director of Public Works. So my recommendation is we have Jen as chair, we select two people from the planning board. We put on the fire chief or his designated person, and then Mike Shea as Director of Public Works. How do you feel about that? And would you like to make any changes?
Good luck.
Or, whatever.
I'm sorry. Good luck. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No. I have no comment. I was signing
It's like
something.
a much shorter list than what was.
Oh,
Yeah, that's
that-
true.
Presented.
The regulations require that we have at least three people. Jen and I both talked about it, and we feel that five is
Mhm.
somebody's bound to be out sick, away, whatever. And frankly, when you don't get many applications coming, but when you do, it usually has some major technical problems.
Mm.
And you need, the more eyes to look at it, the better. So a consultant, such as the town planner or the engineer, would be invited to come in for specific questions and concerns.
Oh, that's great.
So.
Mask the names again. I'm sorry.
That's okay. So we need to get two planning board members. I was gonna ask Bill and Chris if they would be willing, because both of you can read plans, and that's a big part of it.
Sure about that, Margie?
Let's put it this way, You probably read them as well, if not better than I do.
I'm fine. How often is this thing gonna meet? Not a lot.
Very, very seldom.
Yes,
It's there when Jen needs you, let's put it that way.
yep.
So it's very, so if you two would be willing to be available when needed. I would guess that you probably would not be asked to meet more than a couple of times a year. Unless we get some project that is really a major concern, and then yes, you would be. So,
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
you're fine with it? Good. And Bill, and Chris, you're fine with it?
Yep.
All right. Then I would make a motion that the planning board appoint the technical review committee for 5 members with a quorum necessary for 3. And the members would be Jen Brady as the administrative zone officer, and she would be chair. The 2 planning board members would be Chris Willie and Bill Rose. The fire chief and his designated person. And then Mike Shea is director of public works. Comments, questions?
I'll also just mention the planning board, in the regulations, it states that the planning board shall adopt written procedures establishing the committee's responsibilities, so that's something that staff can draft up, and so you would
Yeah.
have that for a future meeting next month or the following month.
There is one back that we had when Ed Roberge was town manager.
Yeah.
It has the responsibility. You can
that.
start with that
Yeah.
and see if you want to add to it. So it's not, I won't bother to read it because I think you may want to tweak it a little. But that's, so we could easily do that, put it on the agenda for next month.
And maybe you might want to add that C #1, the planning board may allow the administrative officer to invite additional members to sit on as full members.
That's already in the
It's
regulation.
already, in- okay.
It's already in this part here.
We can-
Great.
Yeah.
Any of
we
these
can
people
do
and
that.
then consultants is necessary.
Okay.
So, any other questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Did anyone second it?
What?
You made the motion. I didn't hear anyone second it.
Oh, I thought Mary did.
Oh, okay.
Oh, maybe that was the last time around.
Second.
Did you second it? Yeah,
Okay.
okay, good for us to catch. I'm not quite sure, but I thought you did. All right. All those in favor say aye. officially.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries. All right, there are no minutes. They are not ready yet. So we will have a next time around, I will bug Jen. We will have a whole bunch of minutes to approve next time around. And I'll make a motion that the meeting be adjourned.
Second,
Second.
aye.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Notice the time we're getting out, guys. This is wonderful. There will be probably a long agenda in August, so sort of plan